So guys, the first thing I want to talk about today is the current state of Gears 5, which of course is the newest addition to the Gears of War franchise. And I gotta say, guys, that the current state of the game could certainly be better. I know that there is a ton of backlash around different portions of the game, different things within the game that people just are not enjoying whatsoever, or they just think that there's way too many microtransactions that are involved inside of the game. Lots of complaining going around the Gears community, and I gotta say, guys, that being a part of the Gears of War community, the Gears community certainly, and there's no exception to any, lots of games have this, so I'm not gonna say that Gears 5's community or just Gears of War's community in general is generally like this or the only ones that are like this, but there's a lot of complaining that goes on pretty much every time there's a new Gears of War game that comes out. The Gears community usually finds things to complain about, and that's just something that happens. I know with Call of Duty that's the same thing, as well as many other games that are out there. I know Fortnite is definitely the victim to a lot of backlash regardless of what they do in each update that come out. But that being said, let's break down the current state of Gears 5 and what my personal opinion on it really is at this point. So, guys, I've got to say that the current state of Gears, it certainly could be better. I also think, though, that there is a real lack of content. Now, what I will say about the game in general, because I'll give you kind of my overview of the game, is that this is a very good game overall. So when I'm saying that, I'm talking about the campaign, which I thought was really great. Now, I'm not going to say that it was the greatest Gears campaign of all time, but I'm going to say, it's certainly the best looking. It's one of the best looking games I've ever played on Xbox, period, up to this point. And I will say that the campaign did have some risks that were taken. The coalition definitely decided, hey, let's take a little bit of some risk here with this game, and they certainly did that in the campaign. Because in Gears of War 4, a lot of people said they weren't really doing a whole heck of a lot when it came to, taking risk in that game, and that's why kind of people felt was a mediocre entry into the series. Now, what I will say is this. When it comes to Gears of War 4, I felt that the campaign was very, with all the hype that was being built around it, I thought that it was very underwhelming. However, I thought the multiplayer was the best in the entire franchise. I thought the multiplayer was very well done. I love the addition to Escalation as far as in the esports realm of things. So I thought that the multiplayer was great. I really enjoyed watching people play the multiplayer. I enjoyed playing the multiplayer. And then I liked watching the pros playing it, of course, as well. So now we get to Gears 5, which in this entry, and for those of you wondering, Gears of War 3 is my favorite Gears game of all time. I would say Gears of War 2 is number 2, and I would now say that Gears 5 takes the third spot. And here's some of my reasoning why I enjoyed it. And like I said, the campaign, obviously. I like, with any game, guys, when I'm buying a video game, okay, and you're paying whatever it might be, $60 for the game, for a AAA title is generally the cost, so like $59.99 plus some tax. You want a full package. At least that's what I want. And when I say a full package, guys, I'm talking campaign, co-op modes, as well as multiplayer. So you have a full package there. So it's like you can play the campaign, and if the campaign's really good, you can of course go back and try to, get all of the, basically try to find different things within the world, or you can, kind of play it over again, play it on a harder difficulty. And then when it comes to the, multiplayer, that's what's going to keep you coming back. And so that's the most important thing really in any game, I believe, because that's what's going to bring people back to the game. And then of course a co-op mode, like let's just say when we're talking about Gears of War, for example, we're talking about Horde mode, which I think is really great. The escape mode, also, guys, doing things with other people, I think is very important for any game. Having a co-op mode, obviously, having people to play with on multiplayer is really important as well. But I think having a full package includes having co-op modes that you can either play by yourself or play even better with other people. And so Gears 5, when they released it, I thought, wow, this is a full package. We're getting a full package here. You're getting a campaign, which is one of the most immersive campaigns they've ever made in Gears of War, probably the most immersive. Obviously, semi-open world, which I really liked that aspect of it as well. And then number 2, you've got some co-op modes. You've got Horde mode. You've got a new mode called Escape mode, which they're going to be, consistently updating over time. And then, of course, the famous multiplayer modes. So, overall, when I went into this, I was thinking to myself, you know what? The state of the game, we'll get to that, but right now, I like what I'm seeing as far as having all of these different ways in which you can connect and play Gears 5. So, like I said, guys, the campaign I thought was very good. I would say it's about the third best in the series. The one thing, guys, I like playing as Kait Diaz, but I'm not going to lie. There's something about playing Marcus, and there was even something about playing as JD, which was, of course, Marcus's son. I liked that aspect in Gears of War 4. It was kind of like he was passing the torch, Marcus was passing the torch over to JD, and we were taking the helm or taking, the role of JD Phoenix moving forward, and then they switched it over to Kait Diaz. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because I think Kait Diaz is an absolute badass. She is absolutely incredible, incredible character. And I liked a lot of the story arcs. I liked some of the decisions that you have to make in the game, which we are going to get into some spoilers here, guys, regarding the campaign. So, if you don't want to hear the spoilers, I'm assuming most of you probably have already played the campaign through at least once. So we're going to get into a little bit of some spoilers with Gears 5, because we're going to be talking later on in the show about the future of Gears of War and where maybe they could go with the franchise. But that being said, Kait Diaz just isn't really... I don't know. I like her as a side character, a character that we can maybe play in multiplayer, or, you maybe play a couple of missions as her if that's part of her story development. But there was something about JD that I really liked, and something I really like, of course, about Marcus. And, I understand that it was a matter of time until Marcus would pass the torch, and then a matter of time until JD would probably pass the torch as well. But at the same time, I just kind of felt that it was too soon to be moving on from JD. And the kind of where they're taking his character, I didn't really like it that much. They really kind of took his character in this, douchebag type of role in the game, where it really feels like he's just kind of an asshole. And I just didn't really like that. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it, but I just didn't like how they made him seem like a total douche. Like, oh yeah, you guys definitely don't want to play as this guy anymore. You want to play as Kait Diaz. And then obviously a lot of the rumors were revolving around, oh, she's going to be the next Swarm Queen, so we're probably not going to play as her forever anyway. And then, of course, as we know, in the end, she's obviously not the Swarm Queen. But so that was kind of bothersome to me, at least when it came to the campaign, with the way they treated JD's character. And then at the end of the game, you got to choose between JD and Del, which one you're going to kill, as, of course, Kait's mother, the Swarm Queen, or the new Swarm Queen, decides to basically has both of them in custody, and you have to decide which one to kill. And so, for me, I decided to kill Del, because I thought a part of canon, at least in the future, and this is kind of even a conversation probably for another day, but in canon, which, in the Gears universe, I don't think that they want JD dead. I think that they would, Del is a side character, but, I mean, obviously, he has his role in the story. I just think that I would assume, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this in Gear 6, but I do think that Del will be the one that is actually dead, and JD is still alive. But that being said, that's really another discussion for another day. Overall, though, guys, the campaign I thought was great. I thought that, like I said, they did a really good job with that open world setting. I think they're going to be, or semi-open world. I think they're going to be going full open world in the future, which I think that'll be really cool to explore as well. So I'll say it's probably the third best campaign out of all of them, behind Gears of War 3 and Gears of War 2. Now we get to the Horde as well as the escape modes. So, Horde is obviously great. I think it feels great. I like the Horde mode once again in this game. I think it did really well. And I think it still is doing well to this day with all the updates and such. I think it's still pretty good. So the current state of Horde mode, I think, is great. Escape mode is that newest game mode. I think that's kind of just one of those modes that we're going to kind of have to get, used to almost. As far as, within the game, I think it's a cool concept. I don't know. Is it going to, stand the test of time when it comes to Gear 6 and then into Gear 7? I don't know. But I will say that I do enjoy... I do enjoy the escape mode. I miss beast mode, which was in Gears of War 3, where you played as the Swarm, and it was kind of like a role reversal. I really liked that concept. This is a neat concept as well. Let me know what you guys think about escape mode in the comment section below. But then we get to multiplayer. And this is where everyone is complaining about Gears of War, or just Gears 5, right? That this is it's broken, that there's just no real balance, and the maps aren't good, just basically the microtransactions are ridiculous, all kinds of different backlash that came out from the community regarding the multiplayer of Gears of War, which of course is this is the main mode. This is what everybody is really here to play in Gears of War. So Gears 5 comes out. I'm going to say this, guys. The Gears 5 maps are, I believe that there is the backlash behind, and even though it's not as severe about the maps, I think the maps are great. I love the maps in Gears 5 as far as the multiplayer maps are concerned. I think they're great. They're fun to watch, in my opinion. That they're fun to watch when it comes to the esports side of things. They're just fun to play as well. So the maps, I disagree with the community on those. I do think the maps are good. Now, are they perfect? I mean, obviously not. I think there are going to need to be, changes over time, or, just, some weapon balancing, whatever it might be. Now, when we're talking about just, let's kind of talk about some of the weapons and such that are within Gears 5. I mean, some people were talking about, the weapon balancing and how those aren't really good. I kind of disagree with that as well. I feel like it feels good. I think the movement feels the flow of the movement feels really good. I think that I feel like things are relatively balanced. I'm not going to say that anything's perfect, but once again, like the maps, it's not perfect, but it still feels like Gears. You move around like, as in other Gears titles. The wall bouncing feels pretty good as well. So I just can't complain about those things. Here's what I'm going to complain about. Microtransactions, we're going to get to that in a sec. But the re-up system. Guys, it very well, I'm gonna say this. It is the worst re-up system in any Gears game, period. It's the worst. And I don't even think it's close. Now I'll tell you why. I know a lot of people don't really care about maybe the re-up system. To some people is, we're just, we kind of just rank up. We just play the game just to play the game for fun. And, a lot of casual gamers will just play the game and just rank up, and then they'll re-up, and it's not a big deal about, what items they get and so on and so forth. They just play the game for fun. Because really in game, it doesn't necessarily matter like a game like Call of Duty, because basically you have your normal weapons that everybody else has, and then you have the power weapons on the maps. So it's not like you're able to just customize different guns with different attachments, kind of like in Call of Duty or something. So, but that being said, guys, the re-up system is just terrible, guys. I mean, the fact of the matter that they didn't really give anyone. Now, I think that this is gonna, they'll probably update this over time, but something that really is close to my heart when it comes to Gears, games like Call of Duty, StarCraft, I mean, pretty much every game when you're talking about multiplayer, you want to get stuff. You want to get items. You want to unlock stuff, whether that be, new emblems, new titles, new, weapon skins, all those different things. Well, they don't really give you anything for re-upping in Gears 5, and then you don't even have an emblem that shows you what re-up you're on. It's just like a blue, flame circle, and underneath of it, it'll have in Roman numerals, I for obviously re-up 1, and then 2, 3, all the way up to whatever re-up. If they've added more re-ups at this point, I'm not sure, but there's nothing cool about it. And when you're in the lobbies against people, they don't have like an emblem that represents like what re-up you're on to kind of showing off your progress. Because a lot of times, guys, what makes things so cool about these games when you're talking about having those emblems and such next to your name when you're in lobbies, people that are going up against you, they may look at those things and, you know, see, oh man, he's on his 10th re-up. This guy's put a lot of time into this game. We might, you know, be in trouble. Or they might look at it and see like what the KD ratios are. You know, things of that nature show other people like your hard work, your time you've put into the game. And so that is my biggest issue by far in Gears 5 when it comes to the multiplayer side of things. The re-up system is totally broken in my opinion, and I think that it's really unfortunate because Gears of War 4 I felt had some pretty cool re-up emblems, even though they were relatively the same overall. I still thought it was kind of cool, you know, like different colored variants of, you know, within each emblem, I guess you could say, as you're ranking up. The wings in Gears of War 3 were the best, and it's not even close. They should have continued the whole wings thing. I don't know why they didn't. Now, the camos, of course, are sick, but I think Gears of War 4's camos were better than Gears 5. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe Gears 5 will add more and more as we go. But think about this. The items that you get upon re-upping, like all that hard work to get up to the, you know, level 100, to re-up, and you get basically nothing as far as items are concerned. Now, they may change these things. There's a good chance that they will, because I know in Gears of War 4, they did change some of those things. So let's hope that they do that. But I gotta say, guys, that is the most bothersome thing to me. Okay, even more than the microtransactions. Because getting to microtransactions, guys, those are things that don't necessarily bother me as much as a lot of people, because I just don't buy the microtransactions. The only microtransactions that I'm interested in buying are the ones in which you pay for them and it goes towards the prize pool for the esports side of things. So like Gears Esports, you know, if I buy like some of these really cool weapon skins, a portion of that money will go towards the prize pool for Gears Esports. And I like things like that because it's kind of supporting the scene. It's also supporting the developers, but it's supporting the scene as a whole. And I like those things way more than just buying cosmetic items that really don't mean anything. I would rather earn things in-game and show those things off than buying, you know, cosmetic items that really just don't mean anything. It's just digital stuff, you know. I like things that I'm earning and trying to gain over time. So that's just my opinion on microtransactions. I also don't, you know, I've said this in the past, guys, I don't really have a problem with microtransactions, because if that's what it takes for developers to continue making games for us, like in a specific series, like let's just say Gears of War or, you know, Call of Duty or something, for them to be able to do those things and actually have the money to do it, or I guess that motivation to continue doing it, if it takes microtransactions, I find it, you know, it's okay. I just think that it needs to be done in a way in which is not, you're not really being deceptive to the consumer. So for example, or, you know, being deceptive, but or also just like, you know, those loot boxes, a lot of times you don't get the things that you want in them, and so that those are obviously a huge issue. But also I don't like things that give you a competitive advantage. And I know we don't have anything like that really with Gears 5, but just games in general, those are things that bother me significantly when we talk about you know, microtransactions in a game. So overall, guys, the current state of Gears 5, do I think it's like the end of times, like, oh, Gears of War is now going to get canceled, like they're not going to make a Gears 6, a Gears 7? I think that is absolutely ludicrous. I think they're certainly going to make another, you know, Gears 6 as well as Gears 7. And I think the Coalition has their work cut out for them. They just have to continue trying to update things and make things as good of an experience as possible for us in the Gears of War community. So I will say that the current state of Gears is it's not great. It's not terrible though either. It's a little bit in between, and hopefully it gets better with time.